All right, and welcome back, everybody, to the Gamers Grind podcast. It's been a long time. It's been a very long time. How's everybody doing today?
I'm
Kevin?
amazing. I'm also really hungry.
Oh man.
Hey there, how you doing, guys?
I'll kill you.
Oh
I'll kill you.
gosh.
I
Oh,
never
gosh.
liked you.
Never liked you for a second.
No, not for a second.
For those of you guys who don't know us, you got down below. You got Lore Master 95, and to my, I think my left. No, that's. You're right. You're right. We got the Doctor Black Eye Gamer. Can't forget the Doctor. Cannot forget
The.
The.
Because no other black guy gamers exist.
Shut
we
up.
have to have the black guy gamer. The
Oh
one
my
and
God.
only.
The one and only the tried and true. I think it. I'm trying. But
You
honestly-
definitely tried. But I don't think that's true.
But all right. So it has been about, I want to say 3, 4, maybe 5 months since we done an episode of the podcast. A lot has changed. A lot is different now with all of us. And I just wanted to kind of catch up with you guys first before we get into the gamers grind, the grind, baby. So how have you guys been? Talk to me. What's been going on with you guys, either in or outside of gaming? Let me hear it.
Being an
Well,
adult
you-
sucks.
Yeah, that part. Don't grow up. Don't grow up. It's terrible. We got to pay bills.
That's what I have to say. The worst part of being an adult is you have to do things.
Oh my gosh, tell me about it.
You have to do a lot of things, like spend money on things that are not your fault, like broken windshields that get swept
I'm
up
really
by-
sorry, dude. I
by
heard about
work
that.
guys.
Oh man,
No.
yeah.
Yeah. It's fine though. But yeah, we're back in action. Hopefully money can always be regained to be spent on gaming and grinding.
Exactly. How about you, Black Eye Gamer? What's been going on with you?
I'm starving to death, but I'm okay. Like Quante said, man, being an adult sucks. That's probably the only thing that I can really just say about what's been going on with everything. Is just man, I can't believe $300 got eaten up at the beginning of my month because I have to pay insurance. But I want to be a responsible adult, so what be me, I guess.
Why did you have that ready? How long
What?
has that been there?
What?
Like, where did that come from?
The water cat.
Oh, this has been in my hand, dude.
This? I never liked you.
No, we're
No,
gonna work
What?
it.
Not for a second.
It's been there, dude. I'm sorry. Forget it ever existed. I don't have any money.
No, definitely. The adulting has been hitting. I can say it's been also hitting over here. Lots of new little bills. Lots of new little headaches. Focus on health. Focus on just mental health as well. All the whole package of adulting has been hitting me recently, and it's been a minute since we're kind of drifting out of that quarantine. I mean, we're probably gonna go back into it because Delta variant. We're not gonna get into that, but it's kind of transitioning back into that normal life, and then all those stresses that were kind of gone during quarantine, they're coming back. They're coming back a little bit hard, but you know what? At the end of the day, we're here. We're healthy. I hope. I don't know what y'all been doing. I hope y'all are
I'm
healthy.
okay.
I mean, it's been a little different for me because I never really. It was almost like the pandemic never happened for me, if I'm being honest, because I worked at a hospital when it happened, and so I never got to stop working. And then after I stopped working at the hospital, I work from home now, so it's none of that transitional stuff ever really happened. It's kind of strange. It's I didn't really feel the full effects of it.
No, of course. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So, I mean, I definitely had video games during that time. I felt like that's where everybody came closer together. You play online games with your buds and have a good time. And, That's when it was the most important.
I wholeheartedly agree about that. I think that quarantine game quarantine gave me the opportunity to, one, play a lot more games, and two, connect with my friends a lot through gaming, whether it was through Among Us or 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 if it was playing a game like Valorant or something like that, something along those lines. I played a lot more Smash, even though I hated online Smash. I did play a lot more with more friends, and now that we're kind of drifting out of it, everybody just kind of wants to get together, see each other, play games, have a good time, you know? So I think overall gaming has kind of like kept everything strong throughout this whole quarantine, and you know, gaming's fucking raw.
It's great, man. It's amazing, dude. Like, especially if you were a gamer if you were a gamer before the pandemic, you are now, because now everyone wants to play video games, and that's why there's no PS5s. Everyone bought them because now everyone wants to sit at home and play video games. I work at GameStop now part time, and dude, I've never seen so many Xboxes get vaporized in like a second. Now we don't have any in stock. Oh yeah, I just want to play the game because I have nothing to do at home. Like, dude, what? So like, yeah, it's like if you weren't a gamer during the pandemic, if you weren't a gamer before the pandemic, you are now. And the hobby's kind of being under attack, especially when it comes to manufacturing stuff. Like the Switch OLED came out and it immediately sold out. I mean, that makes sense. Yeah, I clicked on that thing and I clicked on that thing on my phone and it was gone. I was like, oh well, I don't care anymore.
And then there's the Steam Deck. Like, I remember my supervisor, who was a friend that I met through gaming. He was messaging me. We're in our work chat, and he's just like, "I'm trying to get a Steam Deck. I got in 2 minutes. I was here 2 minutes early." And he's just like, "I didn't get one," and I felt so bad. I was like, "What?" It's literally the worst. Now that you brought that up, it's so hard to get at least consoles. I know I was able to get a PS5, but that was 5 weeks of scouting. I was using like notification services that, like, if I wasn't there on the dot, I was not getting my PS5, and it was the absolute worst. I remember going to it's called the PlayStation Direct line, and you have to put in your PSN. You go in, and then it gives you like a ticket. It says you have like 40 people in front of you. You have like 10 people in front of you. It's going to take about this amount of time for your turn in line. And basically, the whole thing is it's how they like let people into the PSN site. Every time I got in, PS5 sold out. I'm like, come on, man. Come on. It was the worst. It was the worst. Yeah. And I definitely think that's been like that's the one thing that's really sucked about gaming this whole entire quarantine. The scalping market has been messing with a lot.
It definitely got worse, but the console launches are always really bad. Like, in terms of like getting things, I remember when the Switch came out, I feel like that was one of the first times where I actually had money to buy a console on my own. Like, I didn't get it for Christmas or anything.
Yeah.
And that was definitely a time where I was paying attention to, like, I feel like Twitter was my best friend because I was able to see like everything that was going on. And that was before Toys R Us was closed. And so I actually got my my Switch at Toys R Us.
Oh, wow.
And so they were there's just listings on Twitter. They were just like, "Oh yeah, Toys R Us has Switches." And I was like, "I'm gonna go." And when I went to get mine, me and my coworker, he took me, and I was like, I got there, they gave me a ticket, and they were like, "You're the last one." And I was like, I got it. And I waited like maybe an hour or so because the line was long, but I got a Switch that day in Breath of the Wild. I was really happy. But if I got there like a second later, there was like some people that pulled up I saw, and if they would have gotten mine before me, I wouldn't have gotten my Switch that day.
Oh my gosh! Now that you brought up the Switch,
you want to hear how I got my Switch? I want to
say your story. I know this story, and it is actually godlike.
All right, so I pre-ordered my Switch at the GameStop at the mall, right, the Boca Raton Mall by FAU. I get my Switch. I'm all happy. I got pre-ordered Breath of the Wild. I'm great. I'm walking to my car, and I guess this guy, Lord Chonko, noticed that I had a Switch and was barreling at me full speed. He was like, "Bro, I'll buy that Switch for me right now." And I was like, "No, why would I let you do that?" I was like, "No, dude, I'll buy it right now, like for like $800." I was like, "Okay, let me see the cash." So he showed me the cash. It was legit, and I was like, "You know what? Fuck it. I can wait a little bit longer." So I gave him the Switch with Breath of the Wild, and he gave me the $800. And so I was just like, well, I still want to play Breath of the Wild. It released on the Wii U, and I don't think GameStop had any more copies for some reason. So I went to Best Buy the very next day in the morning. I walked in, and there were like 8 Switches sitting on top of like a table. And I said, "Are these for sale?" And they're like, "Yeah, we're selling Switches today." I was like, "Oh, fucking bad." And so I bought the Switch and Breath of the Wild. I basically made like $450 in purchase just because this guy wanted to switch that badly. And then the very next week they sold out, and I was like, "Today it was a good week, Josh Kendall."
No, you gotta say it. You gotta say it like Ice Cube. Like today was a good day.
It was a good day. Bro, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe my eyeballs, dude. It's little stuff like that happens to me. That's just extremely lucky for absolutely no reason. It's just like, hey man, like, you know, it's whatever. But like, yeah, like when the Switch sold out, it sold out. Like nobody like could get their hands.
That was
on
crazy. The only launch I feel like maybe didn't happen like that was the Wii U. Nobody knew what it was, but
Right.
I mean, the Switch, man, that was a crazy launch. The Wii was too. I don't remember. I think I was like in 5th grade when the Wii came out. But I remember not being able to get one of those for a while because nobody could find them. They just didn't exist. They were gone.
They were actually super
difficult. My mom was so into the Nintendo Switch, she pre-ordered it and got it for herself. And I looked underneath her bed one day when I came home from school because I was bored out kid. I saw the Nintendo Switch. I was like, "Mom, what is this?" It was like, "Oh, I bought a Nintendo Switch this afternoon. I pre-ordered it because I saw all the commercials." And I was like, "What? You don't like video games? When did you like video games?" And she played the shit out of bowling.
The Wii was cool because it was like the one game that I do remember playing with my mom, like, which is a really strange choice, but WarioWare Smooth Moves was a game that I played a lot with my mom.
That's a good game.
And she really liked the it's one of the boss mini games. I forget which one, if it's Mona's or I forget, but it's the dancing mini game where I can't even really describe it. You just get the Wiimote and you just do a bunch of different dance moves, and she loved that one. So the Wii was cool just because I got to play games with like my family.
No, for sure. I think the Wii I got as a Christmas gift. A lot of my consoles I never really got. The only consoles I've ever gotten on launch, or actually the only one I got on launch was the Switch. Most of them I got as like a gift that I got like a year after it came out, and I wasn't complaining because I was just satisfied, and I wasn't like all that into like getting the next best thing immediately. Now, we were talking about the Switch launch, and the Switch launch. So it was a funny story because, you know, me and Kendall were at the Versus Gaming Center the night of the Nintendo Direct. So it's a tournament night for Smash Brothers. Smash Brothers Wii U, excuse me. And everybody says, "Stop what you're doing. We're watching the Direct." And you know, we see the Direct with like we see Breath of the Wild for the first time, and like I was hyped. And then I remember them showing Mario Odyssey for the first time, and Bowser wearing the suit, and he said, "Look at Bowser go!" And I was like,
I broke out the stream.
we were all so happy. So next day, I wake up at like 8 a.m. I'm a college student at this point. I'm dorming, and I wake up at 8 a.m. out of nowhere. I don't have any class. I don't have anything to do. Something tells me, you know what? Let me look into this Nintendo Switch thing. They say. And I find out on that day, like, oh, they're doing pre-orders today. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to pre-order a Switch. keep in mind, at this time, I did not have a job. I was an unemployed college student who most of my money was spent through like credit, you know? I go to this GameStop and they say it's like $25 or $50 to put your pre-order down. I'm like, you know what? Swipe my credit card, which is almost maxed out. And this is the same GameStop inside the mall that Kendall was talking about. So I go in and I pre-ordered this Switch. I'm just like, yes, I pre-ordered like the blue and red one because I wanted the launch day edition with Breath of the Wild, and I think I pre-ordered a Pro controller as well, but I could be wrong. But I made this pre-order, and then I proceeded to walk out of that GameStop and then walk around the mall to look for job applications.
That's right. I remember.
Yeah, I remember you telling the story.
I remember. That's exactly what happened. You worked at Forever 21.
Yes. What is it? The strat was every day do like three to five applications. I think Monday of next week I had a job. I had a job at Forever 21. I hated it.
But you got the Switch.
I got that Switch. Well, you know what was the worst part about it? I only paid half for the Switch. My mom paid the other half because it came out 2 days after my birthday. She's just like, I got you. And I'm like, bet. What's good, Ma? What's good, Ma? Come through.
I think I didn't get mine until a week after because they were so hard to find. But yeah, that was definitely interesting. And the funny thing about the Switch's launch is that I think Breath of the Wild was the only game I got, and it was all I really needed because nothing really came out like at the very beginning from what I remember, aside from like, I didn't want 1-2 Switch. I guess I could have got Bomberman, but I didn't really want that. But I mean, Breath of the Wild had me for like 3 months or something like that. Probably not quite that long, but it felt like 3 months with as long as I was playing that game.
Well, that Switch came out during spring break, and I spent my entire spring break playing Breath of the Wild. I did not leave my dorm.
Yeah,
I played Breath of the Wild the entire spring break.
That game, oh my gosh, when that game came out, I was just lost. I just kind of like locked myself in. I would have, if I didn't have to work at the time, I would have just beat the game immediately. But there was something really special about that. It was something really special about like that game coming out for the Switch as like a launch title. There was this like magic in the air where everybody was just loving the Switch. Everybody was having their time with Breath of the Wild. Everybody had their own little experience with the game and just enjoying it all around. And that was a good time. I remember.
Well, that leads into an interesting segue.
Definitely, yes. So
we have made Zelda tier lists.
Exactly.
And we're going to share them. And we're going to start with AJ because I'm angry at him.
Okay, so to preface this, I've been playing a lot of Skyward Sword HD. I've been really, really loving that game. And I was really interested because I have played majority, not all, but majority of the Zelda games. So I come through to Quante, Lore Master, one day and I tell him, bro, let's make Zelda tier lists. I want to compare this. I really want to compare this. I want to see what people think about this. So, Quante, Kendall, and we all put our brains to the keyboard, and we made tier lists. So, the first tier list I'm going to show you is mine. Here we don't have like an A, B, C, D. We kind of have like cream of the crop, excellent, solid, not the best, pain, and zero input. Now, zero input is because I haven't played Minish Cap, Awakening, or Four Swords. I have Awakening, but I was finishing the Oracle games before. So that's why I haven't had the opportunity to get the chance to play that game. So forgive me if it's not the complete tier list. But this right here is my tier list. This right here is Kendall's tier list. with the highest tier, games that will never age, amazing titles, great games with a lot of personality, not as great but not awful, and aged like milk. That's about that. You know what aged milk is? That's rancid, bro. That's not edible.
Chonky.
And
Like,
then chunky. And then we got Lore Masters with legendary, radical, B-, see me after class. Why? And remake me, please. So, you guys have seen the tier list. So now, it's time to discuss. Talk to me. I know you have a lot to say, Lore Master, but I'm gonna throw this one to Kendall first. Now, first you can choose either to criticize either mine or Lore Masters. You choose.
I'm gonna pick yours because yours is so indifferent from mine's and Quante's. And I'm just gonna start with Skyward Sword being your cream of the crop. I'm not gonna say that Skyward Sword is a bad game. I'm not saying that the remake is bad either. I'm not saying that the game is as bad. I actually think Skyward Sword is actually a pretty good game. Like, I even put it in my tier list as like pretty games that with a lot of personality, which means it's really fun. Mm-hmm. But like, there's just so many like tiny little flaws in the game that prevent it from being extremely well done compared to past Zelda titles that makes me think, dang, it's not really worth it. But then it's like a Super Paper Mario kind of a deal, where like people didn't like Super Paper Mario or still don't like Super Paper Mario because it's not the traditional RPG format. But the story is amazing, and that's why I think like Skyward Sword. I still stand by this. Skyward Sword has the best story in all of Zelda. Period. Mm-hmm. Like, just the best story. Like, in general.
Yeah, if you weren't going to say that, I was going to say most people who really like Skyward Sword a lot are people who really like its story and really liked what it had to offer as like an origin story. And they can look past all of the gameplay because of that. And if you can do that, more power to you. Not to say that I don't like Skyward Sword, because like he said, I like Skyward Sword a lot too. I think it's a really good Zelda game. Actually, if anything, I think Skyward Sword has the best dungeon in the whole series, but that's just me.
Really?
But I do think that it is
Did I die?
Weaker than a lot of other games.
Okay.
I think its dungeons are pretty fair. I think like all the dungeons in Skyward Sword have their own personality. The problem is it's just like the minor backtracking and or the giant vastness of the sky where there's just not that much to do.
Yeah, there's
if there
not
was
really
stuff to
anything.
do in the sky, if there's stuff to do in the sky and a way to fast travel in the game, like efficiently, like effectively, like really well, to travel anywhere on the map when you're on the ground or in the sky, I think the game would be a lot better. Like a million times, like 100 times better. I'm not saying that like the dungeons itself separate it from the actual outside gameplay because it cuts itself in thirds. The dungeons is one part of the game that introduces a new mechanic in some way, shape, or form. The bosses or like the battle system is kind of blunt because if you like the remake, right? If you didn't like the fighting the enemies or fodder in the original, you're not gonna like it playing against them or fighting against them in this game because they have distinct patterns that aren't just like they don't adapt to anything. Just like a bull goblin holding a sword, it's just like, all right, idiot, my sword it's electric.
Man, those bokoblins dance. They're like, they're walking all over the place.
Yeah. They do. Okay, so the reason why I put it in the cream of the crop. So cream of the crop, I was really thinking about if I wanted to put Skyward Sword up there. The 3 games I put there, those are interchangeable. I believe. I truly believe those games are all. All 3 of those games are so good, and I can like on any given day I can put one above the other. Skyward Sword, I just put it in that first spot mostly because it. So I actually think even though the motion controls were not the greatest, I think that was like that was such an important thing to make that game like unique. I actually love the motion controls in the original. Because the motion controls weren't actually the best, it made like hitting the angles you need to hit, it made it much more rewarding. One, two, you're absolutely correct. I love story more than anything. I think story is actually like one of the most important things for me. And I think with this game, they do a very good job of, one, incorporating story into the overall game itself. Two, the characters. So even the minor characters that don't really have like a huge impact in the plot, I think they're all very, very memorable, and they all have like a lot of personality. The art style, I think the art style does a great job at like bringing out like the cartoony feel really does like emphasize like, the emotions of characters, and like I think it brings out the best out of this game. The orchestral music, oh, they went in on the orchestral music all over, and I am a fucking sucker for orchestral music in games. I love it.
It's so funny to hear you mention all of that, because it's like literally everything except for the gameplay is like that's basically everything that you've mentioned. Well, you mentioned the motion control.
Yeah, the motion controls were like the motion controls was something that I wasn't adapted to. It was something that was really cool, and like I liked it a lot. The only
I thought
it's
it was
like
great for the time. It didn't really seem like there's anything else. It was. Yeah. The only thing I don't like is, why do I have to fly my Loftwing with motion controls? Why do I still have to fly my Loftwing with motion controls?
You don't have to do that. Actually, no, you still actually have to.
No, you still have to. Even if you turn off motion controls, you still have to do it. I don't know why. Or like, I think, because I'm playing with motion controls on, I'm not using a controller. But even if you turn off like the pointer and stuff like that, you still have to use the Loftwing, which I don't like. I wish I could just control the bird without, having to do gang signs with my hands and wrists and whatnot. Like, I hate it.
So hear me out. Yes, while I do put it up there, I do agree there are flaws in the game. I think out of all the Zelda games, or out of all the 3D Zelda games, it's probably one of the most linear. Now, that has never been an issue for me. That has never really been an issue for me, but I can see where people will dislike that. I personally did not mind Loftwing travel. I think my problem with the Loftwing is it was a very big missed opportunity. And I felt that a lot more playing through the HD remake. I haven't beaten the remake. The remaster, excuse me. I haven't beaten it yet, but a lot of the issues that people talk, like you guys are bringing up, they're much more apparent to me this second time playing the game, because like I've already enjoyed it the first time. The nostalgia's already kind of gone. The nostalgia's gone, and I definitely think that they could have made Loftwing travel a little bit better. I think they could have. Well, also after being spoiled by Breath of the Wild, of what they can do, it feels like I really wish that they went that extra mile with the Sky, because the Loftwings only feel like they feel like Epona, They don't feel like this important aspect to the game's lore as they're supposed to be.
Then that's not Epona. But have you played Twilight Princess, boy?
Aside from Twilight Princess. That is a horse. That is a horse. That is a great horse.
That is Stallion. I'm just saying that like Epona, like Loftwings, at the beginning of the game, they say they're like the most important thing. You are giving your Loftwing at a young age, and Link has the Crimson Loftwing, one of the rarest of its kind. I've never seen one. I don't believe I've ever seen one in my day and age. They literally say that as a line, and I feel like they added so much weight to this and making it like this is the definitive way you're gonna be like exploring this world, and it's not really like they didn't really do a good job of making it like that central point. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I honestly don't feel like a Zelda game has done that yet, because
Twilight Princess. Twilight Princess has definitely made that connection. Here's the difference between the Loftwing and the Epona from Twilight Princess. In Twilight Princess, Epona is just straight up kidnapped. You take care of your horse by training and stuff like that. You build that relationship between you and the horse, and also Ilia.
Yeah.
and she's pissed. And she's pissed because you're training the horse. He's like, he doesn't like it, but the horse doesn't care because Link is the master. And then in the beginning of the game, Epona's like straight up just kidnapped. And then when Epona's kidnapped, he doesn't remember, who his master is or anything else like that. And Link is like, I have to get my horse back. This is it. I have no choice. Even Epona knows that when you transform into a wolf, it knows that it's you.
Yeah, you can talk to Epona when you're a wolf.
And then, not only that do you travel all over Hyrule on Epona, but you also... Epona helps fight Ganondorf in the last battle.
Yeah.
Versus the Loftwing, the only time the Loftwing is actually useful for you is when you fly to Lord Jabba the Thick in the sky, where he's poisoned and he wants to eat the pumpkin soup.
No, of course. I'm just saying that, Epona in most games doesn't really hold, it's not really that central focus point of the game, while the Loftwings are positioned to be the central focus of the game, but they're really not, And
I'm not talking about travel. You're thinking more something like the King of Red Lions.
He's talking about story element,
I get that.
Yeah, I would have loved. Well, one, I would have loved if the sky was filled with more unique-ish areas. Skyloft shouldn't be the only place that existed in that game. I truly believe that. And this was someone that
I should have had a giant bat.
There should have been much more to the sky, because you're telling me that the only people that exist are the people of Skyloft, and that's 20. That's just 20 people, bro. Where are the other people? Where are the other people?
Well, they're all below, but I don't think any Zelda game has hit that stride yet. None have even Wind Waker suffered from the same thing. You're just in a wide open ocean and there's not really much to do. Exactly. You're just sailing around. There's islands, but there's not too much to do there. You might not be able to do anything depending on the item you have. It just kind of feels like you're sailing around. It's even worse in the GameCube version because you can't do it fast. And Skyward Sword kind of suffers from that same issue. There's a sky, but there's nothing that really...
There's nothing there. There's actually nothing there. There's only 3 important landmarks in the sky. There's just, the actual Skyloft, and then there's the side village with the pumpkin soup, and then there's Lord Jabba the Hutt. There's a mini game and for you to race against other people as well, but in the grand scheme of things, I get where AJ's coming from, where it's if you put character importance on a Loftwing, or on this character, or this the steed that you have, at least make it to the point where aside from that, you go to the giant fish whale to sail to him, at least be all right, Demise, I'm awake. Where's my giant bat so I can fly in the sky and plunge all the way in the darkness? That's what I would have done. I've been put him on a giant bat. I want to see that. It would have made sense if Link would have got on this Loftwing, and the Loftwing would have been able to help Link, Twilight Princess, to take him down, and then Demise would have been oh, I'm falling.
I get that. Even Ganon turns into a bat in the Link to the Past, so that would actually match pretty well. If you rode one or something like that. So I think that's nice. I just think Skyward Sword is definitely good. Even if, let's say that was your number one, I wouldn't mind too much. It's definitely interesting, compared to me and Josh's, but it definitely is a bit strange. But I do know that there are probably people out there who have Skyward Sword as their number one, and
those are exactly 7 people on the internet.
It just depends on how much you're able to look past.
And we are the most loyal.
I think
we are the most loyal 7 people. Okay, remember that. We hold that to our chest. We love this game. Other than that, are there any other games you kind of look that are kind of surprising on the tier list?
I would say this isn't my opinion, but I think a lot of people would probably put A Link to the Past higher. I have very mixed opinions on A Link to the Past because I know a lot of people really like that game. I've heard people say that A Link to the Past is the best Zelda game, and I have to say no. But it's one of those games where it has a good foundation, but everything that came after it is better.
I agree wholeheartedly.
And it sort of falls into that place where I still like it, but it becomes unremarkable in the sense that it's been done before. So it's
Yeah,
hard
it's
hard
done
for me to
after.
yeah, especially since it was one of the Zelda games. Like I only just beat A Link to the Past like maybe 2 weeks ago, and so it's it's good. I like it a lot, but I don't
Yeah.
think that like I would
You
even
don't think
say
it's that great.
yeah. Like
it's
I even think
it's
the
like
very next game that came after it, like Link's Awakening, like I think Link's Awakening is a better game than Link to the Past, but I don't think people are ready to have that conversation yet.
Ooh, I
But
haven't played it. I haven't played it yet, so I can't comment on
yeah.
that specifically.
well, you will automatically like it more because Link's Awakening has a fantastic story. Like it's a really good Zelda story, even for like a Game Boy game. So
Yeah.
like I definitely think that
I
when
can
this
see
thing
where Quante's coming from because, like, I also felt that I also feel that way about A Link to the Past because I played all the other titles first before I played A Link to the Past, and I was like, damn, like, it basically did set the foundation. Like, Link to the Past was was another imagine, right? Like, you're a huge Zelda fan during this time period, and the very next major title, Zelda title, is the self-proclaimed best video game for damn near 20 years. Ocarina of Time has been wagered as probably one of the best video games you could ever play. Everyone's been saying that, for a long, long time, like years, dude.
Mm-hmm.
And like, it's just like when you see it like that, and you see that formula get transferred into 3D, and they keep doing it back to back to back. It's like, damn, like Link to the Past was really great, but all these other games did this formula better,
Yeah.
So I get where Quante's coming from. That's why I'm just like, I don't really like. It's just like with Link to the Past, it's just like, yeah, it makes sense, Like I also feel the same way, and I think that the game is still really good. Like I still think it's a really good game, but like compared to other titles afterward, it's like
yeah. And I mean that for 2D and 3D. I don't just mean that for just the 2D games, but like
yeah,
I think even with the 2D games, like the only 2D games that I think probably aren't as good as A Link to the Past is like the DS games. So like Phantom Hourglass and Spirit Tracks.
Ooh, I have something. I have to speak because you know what, like when it comes to the DS games, so I can understand where people's gripes are with Phantom Hourglass. I played that game multiple times. It's not a bad game, but it is definitely not a great game. I want to know what's the gripe, but I want to know what are the issues with Spirit Tracks. I gotta know because I think Spirit Tracks is a great game. I think that game's so good. It's actually I'll probably be my other controversial Zelda take. I think Spirit Tracks was a fantastic game.
Fantastic.
I think that game was fantastic.
I don't think it's bad. I've never beaten Spirit Tracks, but I feel like I've played enough of it to where I can have a strong opinion on it.
Mm-hmm.
And I like it. I liked it a lot, actually. Compared to Phantom Hourglass, I actually was able to really just get into Spirit Tracks. For some reason, I never finished it. The only thing I really didn't like was the train. The train was kind of strange. There are some parts that was just like very weird, like traversal, but I mean, it's a fine game. Like, I just don't think that I would have as much fun playing it as the other 2D games. I feel like part of that is just a control scheme. Like, if I could just control Link like normal,
Yeah.
I feel like, I mean, it's the stylish controls are fine. Like, I don't think anything's wrong with them. They're serviceable enough, but I don't feel like I want to play that way. Like, if I have to choose to play that way, I just play it in like normal,
No, of course.
Yeah, that's the only thing stopping me from really putting those games high. Like Phantom Hourglass is actually really unique because it has the thing like being able to literally like, I'll just pull this out, like draw. There's a puzzle, and I think this is the coolest puzzle where you like draw a map, and then you have to like close your DS, and then when you open it, the map is like on the top.
Yeah, I remember that.
But like that was really cool. Like it has both games had some really cool stuff. It's just personal preference. Like I think those are still two really good games. I just would probably rather play A Link to the Past.
No, of course. I think
Past is a great game, but you could play something else.
No, 100%. I feel like Spirit Tracks. What made Spirit Tracks for me because I played the 3D Zeldas, but I played a lot of my DS. I played Phantom Hourglass. The game was fun. I had my time enjoying it. But when Spirit Tracks came out, it it built on the foundation set by Phantom Hourglass, and it just like it improved on it. It improved on the aspect. I think it improved on the aspect of, well, one of the main things I hated about Phantom Hourglass, there were these little. If my memory serves me correct, there was these little dungeons you had to do before getting on to like the next portion.
Yep.
Like, yeah, you have to go before getting on to the next portion. You had to go back to the same dungeon and do it. Now, Spirit Tracks has something similar, but the difference is in this game. So Zelda's soul has been bonded to a knight. Yeah, because Zelda lost her body, so her soul's bonded to this knight. So those puzzles that were like a drag to like solve in Phantom Hourglass, they were made a lot not just easier, but they're made to be done a lot quicker. One, and two, there was a lot of cool, unique like puzzles that you could solve with, because you were controlling both the knight and Link, and I actually like that concept a lot. I didn't mind the train. I didn't mind the trains. It was a lot more. I feel like it could be a little bit more active. I was a lot more active than I was when I was using the boat. I think there's a little bit less backtracking compared to the Phantom Hourglass, but it's kind of comparable.
I think what I didn't like is that it was quite literally on rails. Like, you're just kind of being railroaded to where you needed to go, and sometimes controlling that was a little weird, but it's not bad. Like, I think there was a part of the game where I can't remember. There was a part of the game that had the train that you had to use, and it was really weird, but I don't remember very much about that game. I'd have to go back and play it, honestly. And yeah, that is something I should do. But like I said, I think those are two very good games, but probably not as good as Link to the Past for me. But I mean, they're very good. I think the thing I like the most about Spirit Tracks is your connection with Zelda. Like, most of the Zelda games where you actually have a connection with her instead of just being like, I'm the chosen hero. It's time to go.
I gotta go.
I like Skyward Sword has that. I almost say Phantom Hourglass. Well, Phantom Hourglass I guess does too, because Tetra, Wind Waker, stuff like that. Those are always cool games where it's just like Link and Zelda actually sort of know each other instead of you just like. I really don't like Twilight Princess for that, or like that one aspect. She just kind of shows up for like 3 minutes and then disappears to the end of the game, and then that's it. You save her, and then that's all Zelda is. If anything, I feel like she should have. I mean, this is a way more than 10-year-old game now, so I don't really care. But Zelda should have stayed dead, and then you should have just had that connection with Midna at the end. I feel like that would have been more of a satisfying thing for Twilight Princess.
I think Zelda died.
She did. She sacrificed. You remember when Midna got the mega sickness, and then Zelda's like, "I give my body." She just vaporized.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
But
and so she should have just stayed that way. I feel like that would have been a much more satisfying thing for Zelda, especially with the tone that game already had, where it was much darker and everything. So just leaving Zelda like gone forever, that would have been much more impactful for that kind of game. Nintendo would probably never do that. Like, they'd never kill off their titular character on the title. But I mean, that just would have been much cooler to me.
Yeah, I've noticed.
I mean, that game was kind of leading towards like, I thought that like Vati was gonna, not Vati, sorry. Thought what was his name? Zont was gonna be the final boss.
Same here.
Like, it was just playing out to be.
Yeah, they're like. Actually, I really don't like Twilight Princess. I'm just gonna say that right now.
That's a hot take. It's funny because like I did put it high up there because I did enjoy my time playing the game, but I actually wanted to put Twilight Princess a little bit lower because like I feel, to me, the problem with Twilight Princess to me is the game for me personally. I don't know if anybody else agrees. It didn't feel that memorable to me. There were some moments that were like definitely I'm like, oh, this is iconic. But like I felt that a lot more in like these other in a lot of these other games that I have listed above, and I just don't like. There's nothing that really stuck with me, or that stuck with me when it came to like Twilight Princess. I think I remember the Forest Temple, or not the Forest Temple. It was the one where you find the Master Sword. It was the
Temple of Time.
Huh?
Temple of Time.
Oh, it was? Yeah.
Or the Sacred Grove, where you
the Sacred Grove into the Temple of Time. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. But point, you see what it is. Like for me personally, I don't remember that. I remember that. I remember the Ice Castle. That was actually a fire dungeon, and then I remember Star-Lord. I think his name is Star-Lord. The boss. The boss skeleton that you used the spinner to fight. Now that was an epic fight to fight. I remember, but like I remember fighting Ganon. And I'm just like I was so unimpressed.
What? All right, you're probably the only person in existence who has ever said that. I can be like, I don't like that game, and I will wholeheartedly admit that is the most epic Ganon fight in the whole series. That is like the only thing that really probably comes close to that is Demise. But like Ganon in Twilight Princess was like a 3-phase fight. You're freaking biting into him with the wolf. Like you're doing all fighting him on the horse, doing all sorts of crazy stuff. That was a cool fight. I don't care what you say. That was a good fight.
It's like more so the magnitude of just like, I don't know, man. Because like if you're a Zelda, it's like his presence in the game is basically non-existent until basically the later half of the game. Like that's it. They talk about Ganondorf. It's just like Zed talks about Ganondorf, and then he dies. And then
you get to see how imposing he is too. Like when they show the flashback where the sages are trying to seal him away, and then he breaks off the chain and freaking.
Oh, he was pissed. He was pissed. That was the Ganon from Ocarina of Time. Fun fact. He was mad.
You get to see the sage that he killed because it shows like a little. It pans into the symbol that's broken, and if you look at the one that's broken, the one that he killed, it's Ruto from Ocarina of Time. And I thought that was really funny. But yeah. But he I will disagree with you on that. I think Twilight Princess has a lot of memorable moments. I think that game is memorable moment after moment. As for the gameplay, I can't.
Super heavy, like in lore.
Yeah, the story, or it's not really so much as a story as it is just like the moment to moment thing. Like your moments with the characters are what matters. Well, not the characters, but the individual events that happen. Like the horse thing that we talked about earlier. Yeah, Ganon, like the children in the village that you save. Like all that stuff's really cool to me. Only thing I really didn't like was just like the game kind of just feels clunky. Like I don't know what it is about it. Dungeons were just kind of weird to me. Like, it's not that I hate it. Like I don't think it's a bad game at all. I just would rather play other games. But I think it's great.
That's what happens with Nintendo.
Maybe I'll have to replay it.
That's what happens when Nintendo makes a game that's made to be played on both the Wiimote and the GameCube controller. They probably just didn't put enough emphasis on making it like feel right. I don't know. I could be something, but overall, I agree with a lot of your take. I agree with a lot of your takes. I think we can all agree that Zelda 1, Zelda 2, they're kind of pain. They're kind of pain.
I don't think they're painful. Actually, this is something. So I legitimately thought about this because in my tier list, I put Zelda 2 under Remake Me Please. And I thought about if I was to remake Zelda 2, what would I do different? Because I would not want it to be the same game, just like reskinned. I would want it to be like remade from the ground up. And so I was trying to think about how that would work specifically with the mechanics that are already in the game. Like, I mean, you think it's a 2D game, and I'd want to keep it the same, so don't go top down or anything like the other ones.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it would work perfectly fine as a Metroidvania if they ever decided to do it.
Interesting.
Especially with the way that the like magic system works and like the upgrades that you get in the dungeons and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So you could put progression behind stuff like that. So you can. Have you ever? I don't know if you've ever played Shantae, but it would basically be
I
like
played
that.
Shantae, yes. Okay, that makes a lot
So
of
like,
sense.
yeah. So you have an overworld that you explore and go around and do things, and then in Shantae you have individual dungeons, and that's basically your Metroidvania portions. And I think that Zelda 2 would work like that if I was to remake it, and then it would be a much better game based off of that fact. And so, yeah, that's basically all I have to really say there. But otherwise, yes, Zelda 2 is kind of painful. Zelda 1, not so much. I beat that one like maybe 2 weeks ago as well, and I played the SNES version because they made it for Satellaview, and you can actually still play that. But yeah, it was fine. Like it wasn't remarkable, but I just wanted to say that I could beat Zelda 1.
Mm-hmm. No, I feel that. I feel that heavy. Uh, it's funny that you brought up that remake, that remake question or topic, because that's going to transition us into that my favorite section, the deep dive. It's only gonna be a short one. It's gonna be a short one. Basically, I've been thinking about, because like I said, I've been playing Skyward Sword HD and I've been loving it, but I've been thinking about like I really thought to myself, I love Skyward Sword HD. It's not the greatest, it's not the best port of a game, but something about it only being a remaster really left a little bit of a salty taste in my mouth. I'm like, there was missed opportunities. I think a lot of missed opportunities with that game, and I think that game would have benefited greatly from a remake. I think the game. I think the game would have benefited greatly from a remake or like a reimagining of like certain aspects of the game.
He's not wrong. It's not wrong.
It wouldn't be Skyward Sword anymore.
Hold up.
It's fine. It's fine.
I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying. But basically, what I'm trying to get at, and I was thinking about not just Skyward Sword, I was thinking about like other games in general. And I wanted to know if there is a game, it could be any game out there for you. Doesn't matter which one it is. What is a game that you would remake today, and why?
Well, I'll go first because I'm actually I got this one fresh in my brain because I'm almost done with my Sonic Adventure review. Keep an eye out for that.
Oh,
And the one thing that I talked about at the end of the video when I finished my script was what would I do to change if I were to remake it. And I'm really excited to talk about this. So like I think Sonic Adventure is a good game for a Sonic fan. I think it's okay. Okay is like it plays well, doesn't really frustrate you and stuff like that. But that game has some major flaws that prevents it from being as good as it should be. And I think a lot of people would just say, let's just say, for instance, people say that half the game itself is just only good. It's just like Sonic section, Knuckles sections, and Gamma sections. And while I will say that like Gamma and Sonic probably play the best and Knuckles probably play the best in the game, I think Sonic and Gamma has the best action stages in the entire game. That doesn't seem like it's overwhelmed or broken. And so like what I would do to change the other four characters is with Tails, is that if I were to remake the game, I would make the story a little bit different, where Sonic and Tails are still going to the same area, but they split up. So that Tails is like, oh, I found the Chaos Emerald first because he's racing against a Badnik that can fly. You know what I mean? That means that the racing areas for flying against the other characters isn't as busted because in the last stage against Robotnik, he can take the same paths as Tails because he can fly. So let's give him let's make Tails either go up against the opponent that can fly, or we nerf Tails. If you don't want to split up Sonic and Tails, then just nerf his flight ability, and that would make the Jet Anklet more valuable to find because you'll be able to fly farther and faster instead of just being able to fly farther, fly faster, and have almost unlimited flight.
yeah.
With Amy, it would just be like, make sure that the only thing that I hate about, like, I like Amy's segment a lot. It took me a while to like actually appreciate it because it's just basic platforming, at a moderate speed. But the one thing that a lot of people say that, like, in general, just like, you see Zero, right? Zero's more of a nuisance than he is an actual threat. So to change that, I would make Zero have an ability where he can actually catch Amy, because Zero never catches you. All he does is shoot his arm at you and damages Amy, and that's it. But if he had a move where he could catch Amy, it would be threatening. And like, yeah, sure, like when you bonk Zero on the head 6 times in the same area, he gets pissed and knockback doesn't do anything anymore. That would mean that, okay, now he's angry. He has another move where he shoots both of his arms out so fast that you have to like basically maneuver out the way so that you don't get caught. It would make Zero more threatening if he had the ability to actually catch you. No, that's what the whole thing about Zero's gameplay is just, or game in general, is just suffering from. I skipped over Knuckles because I went over into detail about why Knuckles in general in that game, like you can find all the emerald pieces in one sitting, right? The radar goes off for them all. But then you look at Sonic Adventure 2 and only one of them goes off at a time, and I'm like, I understand why they did that. It's because they want you to force you to look around the area and the level and appreciate the level design of what the character has. So if there was anything that I would change, it'd bring that back, but also have a power-up that you could have to find all the Chaos Emeralds in one sitting. You know what I mean? And then get rid of like Tattle, and get rid of like Tikal. Stop telling her where the Chaos Emerald, the Master Emerald shards are. Just tell her, hey, I heard someone say that the Master Emerald shard is in between a window. Like that would be like, it could be any window. So now you have to look for the area. It should bring back those hint bubbles. That's why it's like Adventure 2. It's not like oh hey, go this way, idiot. It's like a text form of where the emerald is based on your surroundings. The surrounding stages in Knuckles in Sonic Adventure 2 were pretty good, except for Mad Space and also Metal Harbor. I think Mad Space is just more like ass.
Metal Harbor is Sonic.
I'm sorry, not Metal Harbor. What was the Knuckles station? Mad Space. That's Mad Space. It was
No, Mad Space is Rouge.
Mad Space is Rouge.
Meteor Herd.
There we go.
Yeah. And then
wasn't he in
the mines?
Yeah, the mines.
Mine,
yeah. Like I think I understand why they were doing that, and then like that's the one thing that I would do, giving them a power up in that certain type of way, and then like Big. Oh fuck.
If it was me, I would remove Big, but it also wouldn't be Sonic Adventure without Big.
It wouldn't be Sonic. That's why I said that. That's why I said too. I was like,
actually,
how do you
no, I was about to say make him optional. That's all they really have to do is be like, hey, this is a side. Make him a side mode because he's already like a meme at this point within the community.
Yeah, he's a meme and like he doesn't really
he doesn't really do anything. So they could just be like, here's Big's big fishing adventure, and then he's just there because he doesn't really do anything to the plot. I mean, Froggy gets caught by Chaos 6, but that's like
Froggy's more important than Big, bro. Froggy is more important.
He's not wrong. He's not wrong.
So it's like,
if there was anything to change in gameplay for Big, is that like the reason why I said in my review, it's like, bro, Big was like an immovable fortress when I was a kid. I couldn't catch Froggy. You remember you watched Game Grumps? I'm pretty sure people watch Game Grumps, watch Aaron try to catch Froggy for a million years.
No.
They did not know that when you're catching Froggy, you're supposed to jolt your stick left and right when he bites down, so it can lodge in his throat, so you can actually catch him. That's an actual real fishing mechanic in real fishing games. And if you've never played fishing games before, you would not know. And so me as a kid, I would just be like, because like the only other fishing game I ever played or mini game I've ever played was in Ocarina of Time at the waterhole, where all you have to do is press A and then reel him in. That's it. No jerking the stick around. I would just literally just be like, make catching fish a lot easier. If you want people to enjoy the fishing stages because they do have variety and you can fish there for a while, make the lures more available for rarer fish and then make the fish easier to catch. Because doing the side missions as Big is literally impossible. Like, you'll spend literally 45 minutes trying to catch a shark. I'm not kidding. I actually recorded that. Like, what am I supposed to do?
That
But other than that's what I would change. Everything else about the game, put DX garbage in there so you can make emblems, collect the emblems worth it, and then when you collect all the emblems, you play as Metal Sonic. That's the only thing I would change.
We'll keep the Game Gear games too. That's still be
Yeah.
cool. But yeah, I think that's put more thought into that than I thought that you would.
honestly,
Because
yeah, I'm
I
surprised.
like, yeah. I mean, I really liked the Amy thing. Like the Amy thing, I like because if they design the stages to be a little bit bigger, and then they had that to where it's almost like it gives you the sense of dread because he's like chasing you like that, and just design the stages around that. I think that would be a really fun idea, just to make it more like stealth oriented, and it would be a good contrast between her gameplay and then everybody else being really fast like Sonic. So I think that would be another reason why that would be a really cool idea. But I don't know, I like that, and yeah, I I liked everything you brought to the table there. So.
Yeah, I'm actually I'm very, very impressed. I didn't think you,
Put a lot of
uh,
thought into that, dude.
I didn't think you actually like. I know you said you were doing like looking at Sonic Adventure, and I didn't think you would actually go this in depth on like, oh, what could they do to make it better to bring it to a much more modern audience. But that was Sonic Adventure from Kendall. What about you, Lore Master Kawante?
Well, I feel like I already just did. Like, it's so weird because I just did the Zelda 2 thing. Because I was literally like, I thought about that last night. I was just like, what would I do to remake and improve Zelda 2?
Mm-hmm.
But if I was to choose one and be selfish, I feel like that's hard to do on the spot. But I feel like I'd have to say, like, Kirby 64.
Really?
Yeah, or it's just like because I was thinking about the era that he just chose because he chose Sonic Adventure, and that's like around the same era. A lot of N64, Dreamcast, yes, you could say Saturn. Those games have aged like powdered milk. Powdered milk probably doesn't age, but it's probably really gross. I don't know, but yeah, that's probably a game that I would choose because out of all the Kirby games, it's probably the slowest.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the first Kirby game that I ever played, so I have like a really strong attachment to it. But his run speed is incredibly slow. The power ups aren't really can't really do much with them. They only have one use. And then when like it has the copy abilities that you can put together and make new copy ability. And I feel like that would be a lot better if you could do more with the double copy abilities and if they just didn't change into something completely different. Because Star Allies has a thing where you can put like elements together. So you could just make a fire sword and literally burn wispy woods. Like kill him in one hit. Like just have stuff like that where I guess you could just bring ideas from Star Allies into 64 or something.
Mm-hmm.
And they keep teasing it with every new Kirby game. They put in like 64 music or something from 64. It makes me want to cry because I love that game. But there's also like some pre-release footage that shows that you could play as the other characters, like all the other friends. So I'd add that back in. So you could play as like Waddle Dee, Adeline, DDD on his own, stuff like that. That'd be really cool. But I mean, this is sort of like an on-the-spot thing that I haven't really been able to think about. So it's not like I can't show up Kendall this time.
No, for sure. Yeah,
I'm the best.
I can't give the same level of an answer that Kendall gave. But you already gave me two answers. You gave me Zelda 2 earlier, and you also shared this about Kirby 64, which are like both games I don't really think of when I'm thinking like, oh, this game needs a remake. And so it's actually like it's very good to have those like.
Well, one more thing though, because we actually didn't get to talk about it, but it's really good. But A Link Between Worlds, and it isn't a remake, but I feel like it borderlines between being a remake and a sequel at the same time, which is really strange. And I don't know any other game that has that can do that. But I feel like that's almost ideal as like a reimagining of a game that are
Yeah.
I agree.
like they're probably the most ideal example and probably one of the best Zelda games. But
I think so too. I think it actually hit all the right notes. It built on the foundation that A Link to the Past offered. You know, you still have the Dark World and Low Rule. You still have the normal world. You have that same top-down perspective you had, but it's at least improved a bit more for like DS. You're able to add much more depth you added more depth to the dungeons, because now you have the whole ability where you can go into walls, and it's like those dungeons you already did in Link to the Past. They just you have a brand new avenue to explore. You're given that same level of freedom that the older Zelda games gave you, and I really like the concept. Like, I really love the concept of them saying, "Hey, yeah, you can go ahead. We were okay with having you unlock all these items over time, but like, what can you do if we give you the items right here, right now? What can we do?"
Yeah, it
And
opens
that
it
itself,
up.
I love
Like
that.
that's the most, like, I can't really think of a better example than that. That's like Masterclass, and it's not even a remake. And that's like the most insane thing about it is like it uses the same map and it's very familiar, but it's a fresh new take on what A Link to the Past already was.
Mhm.
And so if you were to do a remake, I mean that's sort of like what Josh was just saying with Sonic Adventure. Make it similar, but you can change some. I mean that's sort of like a rocky road with remakes. It's like
Yes.
how much do you change before it alienates the audience who originally played it? Like, do you do something that's like Final Fantasy VII Remake, where it's literally not even the same game
It's
anymore?
not the same game,
Or
yeah.
yeah, or do you do
That's where you
something
risk
or
that's where you risk like changing like things that make people
changing too
familiar with the thing
much?
or not. You know what I mean?
So
Yeah,
That's kind of like the same. Like if you look at like Ocarina of Time, the remake, right, or the HD remaster, right?
yeah,
It looks so good. It could be borderline as a remake, but because they didn't change that much in gameplay and everything else and so in general and stuff like that, they only added one thing, and that was like the hint for the gossip storms.
Mhm.
And they have the guy bouncing around and stuff like that. You know, that's the only thing that they put it in there for him. But like, it's just more so just the fact of a developer being like, shit, I don't want to change too much because it'll piss off somebody. Someone's going to be mad regardless.
yeah.
Like,
That's the
someone's gonna be
risk you
mad.
run.
That's the risk you rate.
No, of
That's the
course.
advantage that A Link Between Worlds has being a quote unquote, well, it is a sequel, but
It's
that
a
is the
sequel,
advantage
but
that it has
yeah,
because it's like with it being a sequel, it doesn't have to worry about that sort of thing. It can just sort of
Mhm.
bounce off of the original and improve
It could
things
be
that
like
it wanted to without having to be restricted to that, which is really interesting in terms of just like this conversation.
you
But
want to
if
go
you
to any
just,
dungeon?
yeah,
You want to go to any
but in
dungeon? You want
terms
to
of
go to
like
any
Final
dungeon?
Fantasy VII, it's like, yeah, it's good, but that's also it's not Final Fantasy VII.
Well, the thing is for, and I don't want to get too off topic. From what I've heard, is after the initial Final Fantasy VII came out, when it came out, there were still a lot of ideas that didn't make it into the game, and like them going back to it. One. I don't look at Final Fantasy VII as a remake at all or a remaster. I look at it as a reimagining, and I think that's all. And like, yes, it does alienate. It does alienate the. I think that original player of the game who, when they played it when they were oh so young, if they were expecting the same game, you're not getting that. However, I think through at least with Final Fantasy VII specifically, with this remake specifically, I like this take of them saying, "Hey, these were ideas that we've thought of, or these are ideas that how we want to see the game, how we envision the game to be. So we're just going with it. We're just going with it. We're going as far as we possibly can." And I like that concept of developers reimagining what this game was supposed to be. Not too many developers will take that risk because it is a very very risky move to go for. It's so risky because like if you piss off the wrong audience, that's it. And especially with a game as storied as Final Fantasy VII, like it was the ultimate risk. It was the ultimate risk for them to go for it. But I appreciate that. Not many developers take too many risks anymore because it's expensive to take a risk at this point. You can't afford to take risks like that.
I think it paid off for sure. Like it's
Yes.
still a great game, but I do think that in some areas they they went too far. Like it's hard. Well, that, like I said, that's an entirely different conversation in itself. But
100%.
for it's like you just said it. It's like with Final Fantasy VII, that's one of the most influential games of all time of like its era, and still to this day. And so for them to change it like that, of course people are going to be mad because it's like they probably just want something like. I bet there was a large bit of people that wanted just like PS1 original, but like with all these shiny new current gen graphics, and you know the CG that Square has is unrivaled, stuff like that. And I would have been satisfied with that myself, but I also liked what we got, so I'm not going to complain. Except plot ghosts.
We'll talk about that another time for sure.
Why are you making me mad?
What I will say, but back to the remake conversation, because I share mine. I thought of this, and it's never changed. Bandai Namco, do me a favor, give me a remake of Tales of Symphonia. Tales of Symphonia. That game.
Hold on.
That game is ancient old.
We're doing this again?
Yeah, I love this game so much. It was put on the GameCube. It was a 3-disc game. It was 3 discs. I remember because the last portion of the game was on the 3rd disc. But it was a 3-disc game, and it was everything. It had an amazing story. It had all lovable characters. The battle system was, at the time, was just great. And I played it around like 2011, and like I played it around like 2010, 2011, around that time, and I still loved it. I loved it all around. But that game does not hold up well to like now. After going through so many different Tales games, they've done so many new things with the series that I think that like it would benefit greatly. For example, this is like a personal gripe. They have these things called skits. These are these little things they have littered throughout the world. As you're exploring different portions of the world, a skit trigger will come up. And it's literally an opportunity for the characters in your party to just have a conversation. And it can be something wacky. It can be building the lore and stuff like that. The game right after Symphonia was the first one to do it with voice acting. So Symphonia, it feels super weird to watch because like they're just going like.
I see. I just saw it. I just saw it.
It's the absolute worst. That's one. 2.
But they would have to get the delivery down. It's like, I lied. It was iced coffee. They have to. I don't know. I get what you're saying. Though you can continue. I just wanted to reference the iced coffee.
300%. It's an older JRPG, so there's still a lot of like elements. It's still a lot of elements from like older games, like the random encounters and such. I mean, it's not. Well, you walk in the overworld, and you go into like these little blobs, and these blobs are the enemies. Like you walk into them, you're put into a battle sequence, and it'll show you your group of enemies. Like that in itself is like, okay, it's kind of random-esque because you don't know what you're gonna fight. You know, I think the dungeons are they have their own little puzzles, but the puzzles can take a long time simply because the game is just slow. The game is very slow. Their leveling system, or like not even like, there was the leveling system, and then there was the system to learn new attacks. Each character had a focus. They can either be more. One was technical, and one was strength, and one was technical. Depending on what focus you were more leaning towards, that will determine what variation of a special attack would you get. Like at level 20, you get a special attack, but if you're strength focused, it would be this. if you were technical focused, you would be this. It would be this instead. And that was a cool concept. That was a cool concept that I would definitely want to see brought back in a much more modern way. I think the battles were also it was a 3D game, but you would fight on a 2D plane. You fight on a 2D plane. You could only move forward and back. You couldn't move around the stage to fight. You can kind of free run, but you wouldn't fight like that. And I think that in itself were just important things. Like these little changes would do a lot of justice for this game. It needs its time to come back into the spotlight. It needs its opportunity to be a relevant game again, because that is definitely one of the... you can disagree with me all you want. That is one of the best JRPGs out there in this galaxy. It is that good of a game.
Good of an RPG.
It is that good of an RPG. And make it happen, man. Make it happen.
So you just want it to be like more like the modern games, is basically what I picked up from that.
Yes and no, because I don't think it would. I don't know how would. The only thing I would want to know how to like figure out. I haven't thought about enough is how we want the battle system, because the newer Tales games go for a more combo focused battle system where your goal is to chain moves and like there was already chaining moves into each other, but in the older Tales games, there wasn't as much like emphasis on like creating little combo trees and stuff like that. It was kind of just like you had a TP, you had a gauge for your special attacks, so you had to manage that gauge while also like fighting the enemies. You couldn't just spam out special moves. But like in Berseria, which I know you've played, in that game, you're kind of just going at it. You're kind of just going at it. I don't know if that would necessarily be the move for Symphonia. So that's something I would definitely need to think about. But I definitely think this game needs a chance, man. Give it to me. I don't want an HD remaster. I want a remake. You don't have to reimagine it. If you want to reimagine it, sure, go ahead. Just don't get too crazy with the sauce. Don't put too many spices in the sauce.
I saw one of the puzzles for that game, and I got really mad. It was an ice puzzle.
Oh my god!
Yeah, I know. I saw it. I was just thinking about like what you're saying about like some of the things that would need to cut corners. That ice puzzle needs to go. I saw it, and I was like, oh, if I didn't have a guide, I would definitely be here for a day.
Don't worry, you can do like Origami King and pay 20 coins to solve the puzzle.
Yeah, or that. Have someone like come and it's like, hey, would you like to give me your in-game currency? Me the game,
and I'll solve the puzzle for you, you big baby. Actually, while you were talking about RPGs. I'm not gonna spend too much time on it, but I'm gonna change my answer. Even though a Kirby 64 remake would be awesome.
I know what you're gonna say.
No.
Go ahead.
Mega Man X Command Mission. Did you guess that?
Really?
Did you think that I was going to say? Did you still guess it?
I'm sorry. You're absolutely right. I had no idea. I thought you were going to say Paper Mario.
That was stupid.
No, I knew the moment that I mentioned Paper Mario, that's what you thought that I was going to say. But no, I'm going to say Mega Man X Command Mission.
You caught me off guard. I was not prepared for that in the slightest.
Yeah, because you started talking about RPGs, and that's a game that I recently just played, and it is great, and it's also really not great. And,
at the same time.
Yeah, because I'm just playing it, and I'm like, wow, this game is way ahead of its time. It has the things like, and I really don't want to mention this game, and I'm gonna regret it. You know how Persona 5 has everything's attached to a single button, and then so you just like if you want to attack, you just press X or something. Like Command Mission has that ahead of it. Well, I mean that's cool. The dungeons are liquid butt though. I hate them because they all blend in together. So make actual dungeons. Make it so I don't have to dash into chests because that's dumb.
That's weird.
The voice acting sucks, but it's hilarious.
Hey man, that's it's there's really nothing you can do about that during that era, bro. All of voice acting.
Yeah, I mean Zero's pretty cool. I do like Lucas Gilbertson as Zero a lot. I like Johnny Young Bosch, but I do think Lucas Gilbertson makes a better Zero.
Massimo needs an overhaul.
Massimo is large. I'm Massimo. That's so strange. But yeah, I like that game, sort of. I will probably never finish it. But if it got a remake, especially since Mega Man's coming back in the light, or not soon, he already has with 11, but just keep that train going. And then that's probably a game that nobody has played. So it's like, just remake it. It had a solid foundation. Just make it so the random encounters aren't there. The E-tanks or sub-tanks kind of suck.
Yeah,
you can only...
suck. Yeah,
it's like... Why do I keep comparing it to Persona? That's honestly what it reminded me of. It's like going to Tartarus and then you can only use like so many items before you have to leave. And that's what the dungeons and command missions felt like. It's like you only go in with so much.
You can only carry a certain amount of like tools and equipment that you can to go into a dungeon.
Yeah, and then if you like exhaust that resource, then the boss is either going to be really hard or you're going to have
really
to leave and then do the dungeon again because you left. Yeah. And that was really like I had to do that for the second boss, and I had to go through the second dungeon again, and it had a maze in it, and I was very angry. But yeah, that would be my game. Like I said, I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but I just thought that was worth mentioning.
It's a really good game.
Definitely, I like it. I'm loving all the different. I'm loving the different picks. I didn't. We got three different games from you. I did not expect you to say a Kirby 64, nor did I. Nobody guessed Mega Man Command Mission. That's on God. Not a single soul in this world guessed that. But no, like I think it always goes back to, hey, I think developers need to be willing to really look into their vaults and say, what are some games that were hidden gems but never got the time of day, you know? Let's bring those back. Those games that were classic at their time, but if you try to play it now, they're not going to hit the same, or they're not going to hit that same impact. Those are the games that need to be given that opportunity to be remade, remastered somehow, some way. And I want to see it for more games, but I also don't want half-assed remasters or remakes, because like, to me, a remaster and a remake, you're showing this game some love. If it's just going to be an overall reskin, and it still hold all the problems that it could originally have, then you can do it if it's an old enough game. But
Twilight Princess.
Hey man, it's just like, come on, man, you guys can do a little bit better and make this a much better experience, also known as Mario 3D All Stars. But hey, man,
that's a whole different topic and conversation.
That's a different conversation.
That's not even a.
Don't make me mad.
That doesn't even really fall into that category. That's like.
Don't make me mad.
Yeah, that's gonna make me mad. I knew somebody was gonna mention it, and I was gonna get mad. I was just wanting to see which one of you was going to.
I wasn't gonna say a word. We already talked about it.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
we've talked about it. We've talked about it
because I was gonna say, like, one of my answers I initially thought of when he said Sonic Adventure, I was like, man, Mario 64 would be great. But then I knew that we would talk about 3D All Stars, and I didn't want to get angry, and so I'm not going to talk about it.
You know what? That's okay, because I'm going to end it here. Thank you guys again for all tuning in to the vid. I really do appreciate it. It's been a minute since we've done a Gamer's Grind, and I do apologize because back then I said we're going to keep this going, we're going to keep it up. A lot of personal things happen, a lot of life things happen, and it was a little bit hard, but we're back at it again. We're going hard on this, even harder than we were going before. And with this new format of us going with recordings more, we're gonna have a lot more freedom. To show you guys more Gamers Grind. So that's gonna be fun to do. Black Eye Gamer, please show where can they find you? Where can they find you?
You can find me on twitch.tv/The Black Eye Gamer. And also follow me on Twitter at Dr. Black Eye Gamer. And follow my YouTube, Black Eye Gamer.
All right, and how about
Subscribe.
you? Subscribe. Yeah, subscribe to the man.
Subscribe.
Subscribe to the man. He's putting in a lot of effort, and if you liked what he was saying about Sonic Adventure, you're definitely gonna want to check out his video. He's gonna be dropping soon. So definitely show that man some love. Well, and Lore Master 95 King Kawante, where can they find you?
Twitter. I mean, my Twitter is LoreMaster95. I don't stream anymore. Just like a wash streamer. So I have nothing to offer other than, hey, I'm a part of the Gamers Grind podcast, I guess. So that'll be my thing. And you can find me on Twitter for bad video game opinions. Pretty much it. So.
Oh, I like that. I like the description. Bad video game opinions. They are not bad. They're fire video game opinions. But all that aside, and then for me, you can find me on Twitch, twitch.tv/ChocoTacoFGC. I have changed my streaming days to Wednesdays and Saturdays. This may change in the near future, but for now, we're doing Wednesdays and Saturdays for the stream. Wednesdays at 8 p.m., Saturdays at 12 p.m. noon, EST. You can find us on YouTube. Gamers Grind. The Gamers Grind. I'm gonna work on the actual thumbnail for the icon because I haven't done that, so it's probably why people can't find us. You can follow me on Twitter, twitter.com/ChocoTacoFGC. I talk a lot about games. I talk a lot about Smash. I talk a lot about, well, I just meme a lot, you know?
That needs to go.
Huh?
You guys need to stop playing Smash Brothers right now.
Listen, man, you're not wrong. It's my favorite shitty game. It's my favorite shitty game.
No, it's not shitty. I love Smash Brothers, but I don't like the people that play it.
I guess you didn't like me.
Don't look at me, bro.
I never liked you.
Oh God. But in any case, thank you guys again, and we will see you guys soon with the next episode. Have a wonderful rest of your night.